What is going on, guys? Welcome to the video with your host, as always, K-Mac Time. Now, today's going to be something a little bit different than the traditional video. Today, I wanted to showcase my collection for the Sony PlayStation 4. Now, you guys are aware of this. I make a ton of videos on the next-gen consoles or current-gen consoles. And the PS4 is one of my favorites, and I have a massive, absolutely massive library of physical games. And that's why I love the PS4 so much. It's because I have just a wide array of amazing games. As you guys know, I'm a huge physical collector. I don't do digital as much. So I like to have a physical disc, and the PS4 is amazing for having tons of indie physical copies. Limited run games with the thing and stuff like that are absolutely amazing. But without that, we have a lot of games to get through. If we're going through all of them, I have over 150 physical games for the PS4, so we're going to have to jump right into it to start going through them. I do want to start off and mention here that I do actually own the VR helmet. And I really enjoyed playing Resident Evil 7 in VR. That was absolutely amazing. And Doom in VR was very good. I bought the Rick and Morty Virtual Reality game. That was very fun. There's a handful of other ones I've played. I haven't played a ton of VR stuff, but I do enjoy having the helmet. I do play in VR. I don't really get motion sickness like some people do, but I thought it's just worth mentioning that I have one. But we're going to kick this off here, get this first stack of games here. And like I said, we have a ton of these to get through, so we're going to go through them pretty quickly here. And I'll give like a brief overview of each little game. And starting off here is Shantae the Half Genie Hero, a really cool platforming game. If you guys have never played a Shantae game, I highly recommend you do so. This one is very, very good. Another VR game here. This is Batman Arkham VR. I've only played a couple of minutes of this one. I did like what I saw. It's more like a tech demo for what the VR helmet can do, in my opinion. But I still think it's pretty cool. And it's really cheap these days, so you can go pick that one up for like less than $10. Next up is a really cool game, which is the Wild Guns Reloaded, which is a remake of the Super Nintendo shoot 'em up. Really happy to have this game. I believe it came out only on Amazon or only at GameStop or something like that. I don't know. I got my copy at a GameStop used for like $20 a few months back. Really happy to have that one in the collection. Next up is Dead by Daylight. It's a very cool survival horror game. I have only got a few hours in this. A lot of these games I haven't gotten a lot of time into. But you'll see that I do have a pretty decent collection of games that I need to get around to playing. This is one I want to put some more time into when I get the time. Next up is one of my favorite exclusives on the system, and that is Horizon Zero Dawn. I finished this game. I have not gotten to the DLC. I finished it and the DLC came out and I haven't gotten back to it, but I need to do that. This game's amazing. If you guys have not played this, one of the better exclusives on the system. Next up is a game that I absolutely loved on the Vita, but when I heard it was coming to the PS4, I was stoked, and I'm happy it did because Tearaway Unfolded is a very cute platforming game. Absolutely love this one. I believe this is a PS4 exclusive as well. Love this game, love the art style, and I love this style of platformer. I play a lot of these platforming games on the PS4. Next up is Oceanhorn, which is actually a limited run game. Which means it's like from the company Limited Run. You can see that they only made like 3,000 copies of this physical. Very cool game. It's much like a Zelda. I believe the game actually started out as a mobile game. It was ported over to console digitally, and then Limited Run picked it up for a Limited Run copy. It's kind of like a Zelda Wind Waker-ish kind of game. It's actually pretty cool. Next up here is, of course, got to have the God of War 3 Remastered, just an absolute staple. I have not gotten the new God of War yet because I've had such a backlog of games. I'm kind of waiting to buy a used copy. When it gets around in that $30 range, I'll probably pick it up. That's how I usually like to play games. I don't like to pay full price for new games. So, but this one is an absolutely must-have in your collection. Very cheap game. Next up is the Saints Row 4 and the Get Out of Hell collection. I got this at a pawn shop for, I believe, it's $5. Honestly, I have not played this one yet. But anytime I see a game for $5 or less that I don't have on the PS4, I go ahead and pick it up just in case I ever want to play it. I'm happy to have that one. Let me go up behind here. Sorry about this. I was totally unprepared. Grab the next bit of the stack here. Next up is another really cool, like Zelda-like game, kind of like a action-adventure kind of RPG. It's called Rhyme. Very cool game. I've not played too much of this. I heard this version when it came out was pretty buggy, but hopefully they've patched it since then. But still pretty cool. Next up here is Loading Human Chapter 1. It's a VR game, and as you guys can see, it's still sealed. I haven't gotten around to playing this. I think I got this off an online auction site for like $6. And I was trying to buy some VR games to try them out, but I heard this one was pretty bad, so I never got around to trying it. but still. Rock Band 4. Not much you can say about Rock Band that you don't already know. The game is really, really fun. I play it sometimes with my buddies. Got a really decent soundtrack. Really good instruments on this one as well. Really enjoy this. Next up is Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind, a remake of an original Xbox game. Pretty cool here. Again, I'm not real big into this style of RPG, but I did get this one very cheap at a pawn shop, so I thought I'd pick it up. Next up is Industry Giant 2 Be a Tycoon. It's kind of like a city simulator game where you make like a city, you build up the industry just like it says. Pretty neat little game here. If you're a fan of Roller Coaster Tycoon back on the old PC, you tend to be a fan of something like this, maybe like a Sim City, something similar like that. I haven't gotten too much time in that one either, but when I played I did like. Next up is probably my favorite game on the PS4 so far, and on the PS3 as well, and I'm so excited to see the sequel coming out very soon, and that is The Last of Us. And the remastered version of the PS4 is an absolute must-have. By far, still my favorite game on the PS4. I love this game. The story is absolutely amazing. Next up is a little indie title called This Is Police. I believe this is like a little detective, kind of clue-based game where you go around and you find clues and try to piece together crimes. I have only played about a half hour of it. I don't know. I don't really know what to say about that one. Next up is another indie game called Stick It to the Man. Pretty interesting little game here. A little indie game. I played a little bit of it when I bought it. I bought it for like $5 at GameStop and they had a sale on it a couple years ago. Didn't really care for it all that much. Next up is SteamWorld Dig Heist and SteamWorld Dig, whatever that one is, both of them. Very good games. These are some of the best platformers on the system. Again, I love this style of like retro-ish style indie platformer with some cool twist and like mechanics. Highly recommend these, and then the sequel I believe is out or coming out very soon. Alright, you can't have a collection of games on the PS4 and not have a remastered copy of SKYRIM. An all-time great. I didn't get too into the remastered version. I've put a ton of time into the version on 360, but I bought this. I bought it used for like $20, I think, and I never got around to playing. I played for a little bit, but I just couldn't get back into it the way I did originally. Next up is Song of the Deep, the GameStop exclusive. Pretty cool little game here. It's kind of like a platformer, but you're like in a little submarine. As you can see here, it's still sealed. I think I got this during a Christmas sale at GameStop for like $9. I've played the game, but I've played it on Xbox. I've not played this version of it, but I do like this game. Next up is a game called Shadow, which is a pretty neat little first-person shooter here. I got this for $4 whole, and for that price, I'm not going to pass it up. Again, I have not played too much of this. A lot of this stuff I never got around to playing, but for a price like that, I'm not going to pass it up. Now, a game I did play and beat, and I got the collector's edition for, is Little Nightmares. Again, you'll see a pattern here. A really cool platformer with really awesome elements, puzzle solving, very fun mechanics, even kind of creepy survival horror platforming, if that makes sense. Very awesome game. Yeah, this would be one I recommend to a lot of people out there. One of my favorite games on the PS4, and I'm glad I picked up the edition that came with the little statue. You guys can see that. It's a cool little statue of the player you are. Very fun game though. I like that one a lot. All right, let's grab this stack right here. Next up is Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, another first-person shooter on the system. I have not got a whole lot of time into it. Probably never will play this one. I'm not a huge fan of this series. It's okay. It's not my favorite. A game I did like, though, and I played a lot of, is Alien Isolation. I know a lot of people didn't care for this game, but I personally did. The survival horror elements of it were very cool. I thought the way that the xenomorph, or whatever it's called, I think it's what it's called in Alien, the xenomorph kind of learns your patterns and learns what you're more likely to do, and then plays off of that. It was a very cool mechanic, something I've never seen before in a horror game, and I would recommend this one if you're a fan of survival horror. Next up, another game that I have yet to play is called Deformers. From the looks of it, it looks to be maybe some kind of puzzle game, like a puzzle game where you do weird things with like animals? I don't know. I bought this one when it was super cheap at GameStop, and you can see it's still sealed. Haven't gotten around to this one, but it's definitely on my playlist. Next up is a game, Pure Hold'em World Poker Tournament Championship. It was like a $2 game in a pawn shop. I wasn't going to leave it there. I'll probably never play it, but it exists. There's a poker game. Another really cool exclusive on the system, and that is The Last Guardian. I like this game. The controls are kind of wonky at times. I did beat this game. Yeah, the controls were wonky at times. You just kind of like, the camera controls will make you want to pull your hair out at times, but the story's really cute. Just an overall solid game. Another really cool game here is the Metal Gear Phantom Pain, Metal Gear Solid 5. One of Kojima's best games in my opinion. The online in this was also really cool. I like this game a lot. I'm not a huge Metal Gear fan, and I have not played Metal Gear Survive because I heard it was terrible. But this one I did enjoy a little bit. Next up is the PlayStation VR demo disc that came with the headset. Got a bunch of little demos on there for cool things: Battlezone, Valkyrie, Drive Club, Rigs, and stuff like that. Some games you can try out just to dip your toe in if you're looking for some VR stuff. Next up is another limited run game here. This time is Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap, which is an amazing retro platformer. Originally came out on the Sega Master System, I believe, but this one's a really cool version of it, and I'm glad to have it. It's very fun. I love how you can jump back and forth between the classic graphics and the new graphics. Really cool mechanic there. Of course, you have to have a Fallout game with Fallout 4 here. I did play this game more so on the Xbox One and the PS4. But I do have versions of it on both, or I sold off the Xbox One version a while ago, but this version is pretty cool. I'm not a huge Fallout fan, and I'm not really sure what I think about Fallout 76 as of yet, but I did enjoy what time I put into this one. Another game, it's pretty cool, pretty hard to come by. This one's actually pretty sought after by collectors as well. It's called Hyper Light Drifter. Very cool, stylized action platforming RPG here. This was, again, not sold in storage. I had to order this online. I believe through im8bit.com. I think they made like 3,000 copies ever, and I was lucky enough to snag one before they went out of print. Next up is a really cool Bethesda title, Dune. If you guys know anything about Bethesda, you know I'm a huge fan of their games, especially their first-person shooter games. I just finished Wolfenstein 2 on the Xbox One, so but I'm going back and I've beaten this one, but I want to play it some more. The online multiplayer is also pretty cool. I'm actually looking to get the Switch version of this because I heard it's pretty good. Of course, you have to have a copy of Grand Theft Auto 5, the highest selling game of the generation. Absolutely amazing. I've beaten this game through a few times, and of course you go back and play the online multiplayer. You play the online, GTA Online, never gets old. Heisting and all that kind of stuff with your friends never gets old, so it's always good to have a copy or laying around. Another game that's amazing is Trials Fusion. Just a really cool, unique little game here. It's hard to master, but it's easy to pick up. Those are the kind of games I like. Some of the later stages in this can get so in-depth and hard and complicated, but it's still fun. Every now and then I pop this in and I go back to it and still have a ton of fun with it. Next up is a PS4 exclusive, that is Gravity Rush 2. Really cool series here with the mechanics of changing gravity and moving around to collect things. Really cute storyline. The characters and the animationists are also really cool. If you're a fan of like animation like that, it's a game right up your alley. I highly recommend this one. Also, the first one's really cool on PS4 as well. Another limited run game here, and that is Double Dragon 4. A beat 'em up style game. It's not, from what I've heard, it's not much like the Double Dragons on the original like Super Nintendo and stuff like that, the Sega Genesis. It's a little bit different style. Doesn't necessarily make it a bad game, but fans of the original series don't seem to like it. I have not opened this one yet. I have not gotten to play it, but one of these days I'll crack the seal and play it. One of the better Telltale series games is, of course, The Walking Dead with Clementine. A classic Telltale series here. One of my favorite games of the last generation. And the remastered version on the PS4 was dirt cheap, so I went ahead and picked that season 1 up. Another Sony exclusive here is Infamous Second Son. Pretty cool game here. I'm not gonna lie, I've never beaten this game. I've only played a little bit. I didn't play the first Infamous, so I'm not huge into the series, but what I've played, I did enjoy. Now this next game is a limited edition that you can only get off of EastAsiaSoft.com, and that is Ghost Blade HD. A really cool shooter, and it came in this really awesome limited edition big box, which I have not opened yet. But it's a really cool action shooter, or just a vertical shooter, I believe. Actually made for the Dreamcast. It's like a ROM hack for the Dreamcast at Homebrew, and then they was picked up by the East Asia Soft, printed it, like 3,000 copies of it physical. I was lucky enough to get one. Of course, I got bamboozled by No Man's Sky. I actually got the limited edition with the steel book and all the goodies and stuff. I have not gone back and played this game. I've heard it's been patched, and I've heard it's a lot better than it was when it launched. But the game pissed me off so much that I just I can't bring myself to reinstall it and play it. But I do own it. Moving on to our next stack here, and that is The Walking Dead Season 2. Like I said, I love Telltale games, and The Walking Dead is probably their best series they've ever done. This is the Adventures of Jake and his investigations. I have not played this one, but I got it at a pawn shop for like $3. So maybe one day I'll get around to playing it. One that I have played a ton of, probably the game I played the most of in the last year on the PS4, is the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy. Did a really good job on this. Was really happy when this came out because I love the original Crash series, and I'm thinking about picking up the Xbox One version. Even though I have it on PS4, I'm thinking about picking up the Xbox One version as well. Really great series of game here. That's the BioShock HD collection. Fell in love with these games. I missed out on them. I missed out on them actually on 360 and PS3. I never got around to playing them. So they put them all on one disc. I thought, this is my time to go back and play these. I've heard these games are outstanding, and I want to play them all, and they are outstanding. My favorite is Infinite. I know people say that 1 is probably their favorite, but I thought Infinite was amazing. 1 and 2 were pretty good as well, but Infinite's my favorite. But I put a lot of time into this one as well. Next 2 games up here are some of the harder games in the system. That is Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3. I am very, very bad at these games. I've not taken the time to learn the patterns and learn the bosses and learn the stuff up. And if you don't know what you're doing in these games, you get absolutely destroyed over and over again. And that's what seems to happen to me. So every time I try and play these games, I kind of just get mad and turn it off and play something easier. A really cool little game here, and that is called Yonder. Kind of like a Zelda game, like a childish kind of version of Zelda game. There's no combat in it, if I remember correctly. But it's still a cute little game here. Of course, you can't have a PS4 and not have the Nathan Drake Uncharted collection of the first 3 games. Some of the best on the PS3, and they've been remastered here. They look a little bit better on the PS4. Just a great collection of games. If you've ever played the Uncharted series, I highly recommend doing so. This is the best way to do it. You can get this collection dirt cheap, so I highly recommend doing so. Next up here is a VR game. This is what's this called? Until Dawn Blood Rush. It's like a on-rail shooter game where you point your hands and you shoot. I don't know. It kind of gave me motion sickness a little bit on the roller coaster. You're like on a roller coaster and you're like taking turns. I don't know. It's okay. It's not the greatest thing, but again, a cheap little VR game you might want to consider picking up if you have a helmet. This one's called Battle World Chronos, and I have not played this. From the look of it, it looks like a tile-based, turn-based RPG, maybe, or a battle sim. I don't know. Maybe like a Halo Wars type game. I have not yet to play this one, but maybe one day I'll get around to it. I have played this one, and that is Chromia Omega. It's a really interesting shooting game. It's like a shooter, shmup gameplay here. Pretty interesting. Not my favorite shooter on the system, but still pretty decent. You can get this one for like under $5 most places. Next up is a really cool title by Soidesco, which makes a lot of like lower print games, a lot of indie games they print. It's called Ether One. Very interesting take on this game here is it, I believe it has like something to do with like dementia and how you go back in someone's memories and stuff like that. It's a pretty heavy subject title, but I did play a little bit of it, and when I did play, I did enjoy. Next up is called Bound by Flame, another game that I have yet to play and don't know anything about. I did put a little bit of time into Far Cry 4. I've yet to play Far Cry 5. I heard Far Cry 5 is really fun, but this game was pretty fun for a little bit of time I put into it, like the open world, all the crazy stuff you can do in it, but maybe I'll pick up Far Cry 5 very soon. This is a DMC, so it's Devil May Cry Definitive Edition, and a classic. Another limited run game here, that is Ys Origins, JRPG. Got to start way back in the day, like a PC Engine. But now they're up to like Ys 8, and this is the only Ys game I've ever owned and played. And I have not got too much time into it, but maybe I should put some more. Next up is Stardew Valley. As you can see here, it's still sealed. I actually have this game on the Switch, so now I don't really need this version of it. Because the Switch I can just take anywhere, and if I want to play it, I'll play it there. But it's a pretty neat little like Harvest Moon style game. You know, you do your collecting, your harvesting, your stuff like that. It's a little farm sim. Pretty neat little game. This is actually the big box of Yonder. I showed the game earlier, but I have the Signature Edition, I believe it's called. Came with a little couple of goodies inside of it. Another Telltale game here. This is the Borderland, A Tale from the Borderland. Pretty neat little series. Next up is a JRPG, that is the Tales series, that is Tales of Hysteria. Not my favorite of the Tales games, but not a bad one either. Another really cool game here, I believe this is like a JRPG if I remember correctly. It's like based off that Sword Art Online anime, and Lost Song. And I know there's a sequel to this one that came out not too long ago that I have yet to play. I've only got a few hours into this one, but maybe I'll get back around to it. Alright, still got tons more games to go here. Jeez, more than I thought. Next up, a classic, a must-own, another very hard game, much like the Dark Souls game, and that is Bloodborne. Another really cool Soy Desco kind of game, an indie type game. I really enjoyed the concept of this one. It's like a survival horror through the eyes of a toddler, and your teddy bear like is your companion, and the adults are out to get you. Actually pretty scary for what it is, and it's a really cool game. It's called Among the Sleep, and I would highly recommend this one. Another survival horror game is only for PlayStation 4 exclusive, and one that I highly recommend checking out. It's actually really cool. It's got multiple endings. It's choose your own path through the whole game, and Until Dawn. I actually really enjoy this one. I've played this one through a few times to get the different endings. A game that I had high hopes for but really let me down is Evolve. It looked really cool. The beta was pretty decent, and I had high hopes for this one, but it really fell flat, and then the player base just died like almost immediately, and I have not picked it back up since. Of course, you have to have the original Battlefront. Pretty useless now, I guess. I bought this game used. I already had it on the Xbox One. I bought this game because you could do the VR helmet with the X-Wings missions, and that was pretty cool. But now with the second one being out, there's really no need to play that one. Next up was a game I just bought the other day, but I've not got a chance to play yet. It's called The Sexy Brutale. Not quite sure this one's about. It's one of those odd PS4 games. I saw it, and I was like, alright, I don't usually see titles like this at a used game store. So it was pretty cheap, so I went ahead and picked it up. It looks to be some sort of RPG, obviously Japanese style, with weird cover and back art. I'm gonna have to give this one a try. Let me know in the comments if you guys have played this one and what it's about. I'd like to know before I give that one a try. I love Lego games, and the movie was a great little Lego game. I play a lot of these Lego games. I know this sounds kind of lame, but I'm a huge fan. They're actually really fun, and they're a lot of a little easy. You get trophies and stuff like that. Next up is another limited run game, and that is Rive, a really cool action platforming shooting game. Really cool indie game as well. I liked Rive a lot, so I went ahead and bought that when it came out and it was limited run. Next up here is probably one of my top 5 PS4 games that I've ever played so far, and that is Resident Evil 7. Now the reason I say that is because in VR, this game is amazing. It's so scary in VR. I love it. I've played it through on both the Xbox One and PS4. PS4 version, obviously with the VR, is a superior version. I highly recommend it there. Also rounding out some more Resident Evil, I have Resident Evil 5. Just a classic remake from the 360. I also have the Resident Evil Origins collection, which is, I believe, 1 and 0. Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 1. Looking forward to Resident Evil 2 remaster, and that being in VR is going to blow my mind. I cannot wait to play that. One of my favorite Resident Evil games. Next up here is Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4. I believe this is like a fighting game. I have not gotten a whole lot of time into that one. Next up is the Marvel Pinball Epic Collection number 1. I'm not a huge fan of pinball games, but as far as they go, this one's pretty decent. I love Marvel, and all the tables are pretty decent in this one. Next up is the Minecraft Story Mode. Not gonna lie, I've never played this. I'm not a Minecraft player at all. I don't even really care for it. But I saw it at a yard sale for like $2 or $3, so I picked it up. A really cool game here, like a shooting game, like an action game. Geometry Wars. I loved Geometry Wars on the 360 back in the day. So when I saw this one at Best Buy, like the newer version of it, for like $6, of course I picked that up. Another limited run game here is a Neurovoider, and this is again a really cool little action shooter, twin stick shooter. Pretty cool. I have not gotten to play it yet. You see here, a lot of these games are sealed. I have not gotten. I have a huge backlog, but I've seen gameplay of this, and I'm really looking forward to getting a chance to play it when I get the time. Another limited run game, and that is the remake of the Sega CD classic Night Trap. I actually have this on Sega CD. If I want to play it, I'll probably play it there. So this one will probably stay sealed for now, but happy to have it in the collection. Next up is the Steelbook for No Man's Sky. You already saw the collector's edition for it. A game that I really enjoy, put a lot of time into, more than I thought I ever would, and is Dying Light. Really cool zombie survival game here. I actually really enjoy the mechanics in this one, and it's one I put a lot of time into. Another really underrated game people don't really talk too much about, and that is Mad Max. Loved this game. I love being able to customize and build your own cars and stuff like that. Really cool single player on this. I loved it. I put a decent amount of time into this one. Let's see, another limited run game, and that is River City Melee, and that is another beat 'em up style, classic beat 'em up style remake, remaster, whatever you want to call it. Similar to the ones you see on the NES and stuff. As far as I'm concerned, I have not played this one yet either. All right, moving on to our final stack of games here. Absolute classic, that is Batman Arkham Knight. Love this game, I've beaten that one a few times. Another really cool little game here that people probably overlooked because it looks kind of cartoony, but it's actually really fun, is Transformers Devastation. You get this game super cheap right now. Very fun game, and I love the actual art style of like the old school 80s cartoons. Loved it. Loved this game a lot, actually. Next up is the Kingdom Hearts 2.8 Remix Edition, or whatever they call it. It's a collection of a bunch of Kingdom Hearts games they remastered. They did this on the PS3 as well, and I actually have these games on the PS2, and I believe it's like Rechain of Memories or whatever came out on the Game Boy Advance, and I have that version as well. This is the Back to the Future's Telltale game. Another little cool little Telltale game. I like Telltale games. The Batman Telltale game. Again, very similar style, but a pretty good story here, and I actually am like halfway through this one. Next up, a game I got just not too long ago, and I've played it, loved it on the VR, and that is the Rick and Morty Virtual Reality. I am a huge Rick and Morty fan. Love Justin Roiland and his style of comedy, and I love the games that they make. So was stoked when this finally came to PS4, and I played through it in like a couple hours, and it's absolutely hilarious. If you have a VR, do yourself a favor and check this game out. A launch title here, and one that I played very early on, is Knack. And I'm not going to play Knack 2 yet, but I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan. It's not as bad as everyone says it is. People really kind of crap on this game, but it's not that bad. But for a launch title, it was pretty solid. A game that I absolutely hated when it first came out, and I still do, even though I never played the sequel, even though I heard the sequel was a lot better. Watch Dogs, it let me down, and I just couldn't go back into it. I never finished it. A game that I actually do like here, and that is the Steelbook of Valkyria Chronicles. Really cool, like strategy RPG here. I like this turn-based kind of combat. Sega did a really good job with this. Valkyria Chronicles is a cool series. I believe there's a new one out, and I have not gotten to play that one yet. Next up is Uncharted 4. Again, another must-own and must-play. Beautiful game, great story. One of the better ones on the PS4, obviously. Next up is another limited run game, and that is the Swapper. Now, this one is where you swap consciousnesses out of your body into other things, and that's like a puzzle platforming game to go along with it. Another really cool indie dev title that I was happy to see get a physical release. Next up is Digimon Cyber Sleuth. Kind of like an action RPG. You go around catching and capturing Digimon, and you battle them in turn-based, I believe. Pretty neat little game. I've not gotten a whole lot of time into it. Honestly, I've probably played like an hour or less of this. And it's another game I have in my backlog to finish one of these days. Now, a game I was kind of shocked to see come to the PS4, and that is The Legend of K Anniversary. I believe this was like a PS2 game, and there's a version of this on the Wii U as well, I believe, as weird as that is, and on the Switch now, I think. Just a little cute or not even RPG, like action platformer. It's not that great, but I played a little bit of it. Next up is the Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 Remix Collection. More remastered Kingdom Hearts games. As you guys can see, it's still sealed. Haven't gotten around to this one. Next up is the original Gravity Rush Remastered. This game is amazing. Actually kind of a harder game to come by in physical because it was only sold on Amazon and only for a limited time. Not that many copies of it out there, so I'm super happy to have a physical copy of it in my collection. Pretty cool game though. And the sequel's better, but that version's pretty cool too. Another really cool game, of course, gotta have a Ratchet and Clank. Gotta have that in the collection. Mass Effect Andromeda. Did not care for this Mass Effect. It just kind of seemed choppy. A game I did really enjoy though is Life is Strange. Loved this game. One of the best storylines of this generation. I loved the style, the rewinding time, the mechanics, all of it was great. Have not played the sequel yet, or the prequel. Have not played the prequel yet, and I'm looking forward to getting around to that. Mafia 3. It's okay. I only played a little bit of it. It's okay. I'm not a huge fan. Maybe I'll get around to finishing it one day. This is the last of the limited run games, and that is a really cool shooter called Darius Burst. Really cool shooter here. And finally, the last game here we have for you guys is called Metro Redux. It's a couple of old Metro games that have been remade and remastered on the PS4, and they're pretty cool little shooters. I've not finished either of them though. But there you guys have it. That's all of my PS4 games. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit about what games are out there and just how many PS4 games there are. This is just a small little fraction of what's available, and there's so many cool games you can get out there, and there's collection editions of it. There's physical copies of indie games out there. There's limited run games, and the PS4 is absolutely just killing it. Even though I play a lot more Xbox than PS4, I do like collecting for PS4 as well. But anyway, guys, thank you guys for sitting all the way through this incredibly long video. Thank you guys so much. You guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys subscribe for more videos like this in your sub boxes daily. And let me know down in the comment section what PS4 games you like to play, which one do you have in your collection, and would you guys like to see my Xbox One collection. I have about 70 Xbox One games as well. If you guys are interested in seeing those, leave a comment down below. Let me know you guys like that. But until next time, guys, remember that it's always KMAC time somewhere. Until then, guys, take it easy and peace out.